Casino Local Agency Formation Commission to order. This is Monday, January 4th, 2021. And I believe that everyone knows now the protocol for being on these Zoom meetings. So I won't go over all the detail, but I will ask if you're not speaking to please put your device on mute. So let's go forward with the roll call.
Good morning. Chair Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Orth?
Here.
Commissioner McCowan?
Here.
Commissioner Ward?
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Here.
Commissioner Ignacio?
Here.
Commissioner Bazzani?
Here.
Commissioner Winkle? Commissioner Winkle? Commissioner Lee? Commissioner Haschak? Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe we have a quorum. Other staff in attendance are Executive Officer Hinman, Analyst Filer, and Legal Counsel Mr. Scott Brown.
Thank you so very much. We'll move on to item number 2. This is public expression. So anyone from the public is welcome to speak. There is a 3-minute limit and no action will be taken at this meeting. And your topic cannot be on today's agenda. So do we have public expression?
We have 4 people waiting in the waiting room. They are all to speak on items 6A or 6B. No public comments for items 2.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 3 on our agenda, consent calendar. Commissioners, approval of the December 7th, 2020 regular meeting summary. Does anyone have additions, deletions, added comment? Not hearing any, we'll move on to 3B. And this is our claims and financial report. We'll discuss that and then we can take both 3A and 3B in a motion. Anyone on the claims and financial report?
This is Executive Officer Hinman. I would like to note a correction. Claims. The website hosting account number should be 5700 on the claims staff report on page 8. The totals are correct, but I wanted to note the account correct.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? And then I will have some comment after we take these items, and it has to do with all the banking. Is anyone coming forward with a motion?
This is Jerry Ward. I move to, go ahead, John.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
I move to approve item 3A and 3B. This is Jerry Ward.
And the 3B, I think, was as amended, and I will second.
Correct.
Okay, clerk, did you get that motion?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Ward and a second by Commissioner McCowan. Please do a roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioner McCowan?
Yes.
Commissioner Bazzani?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Orth?
Yes.
Commissioner Ignacio?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chair Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And on this item, I'm just concerned about how we will handle the check signatures this time around.
Yes, thank you. I can speak to this item. This is Executive Officer Hinman. We have signature cards file both with Savings Bank of Minnesota West America also, which is where our are held. Currently on the signature cards, Brown, McCowan, and Ward. That's for both banks. We do have letters prepared to send out where we would remove Brown and McCowan. We do need 2 signatures on all checks. We have Commissioner Ward that can remain. So it would be Commissioners Ward, Wallace, or Ignacio that would need to be added to the signature cards. And we do prefer to have 3 commissioners on the cards so that we can at least get 2 out of the 3.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner McCowan?
Also, I do believe that, and of course it'll be finalized tomorrow, but I do believe that Supervisor Mulhern will be appointed to LAFCO, and I think Supervisor McGorty also. But definitely I recall Supervisor Mulhern would be appointed. So I think there will be another local option, which of course has proven to be convenient. So so I think we'll be able to get an additional signature that'll be easy to obtain, or staff will be able to get that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McCowan. And just so all the commissioners know, we need 1 hard signature on each one of the checks. And then virtually, you can send in, you can email, and I will provide that information to Ms. Hinman. You can send in the second signature approval as long as you list all the checks, who they're payable to, and the total amount. So we'll get that arranged. I'm just worried about the first original signature. And I do think that maybe Ms. Hinman, you should wait until your organizational meeting, the first Monday in February, before you go changing all the cards. You may, depending on chair, vice chair, treasurer, and who else may be sitting on the commission at that time. So that's my suggestion. And if we can get Mr. Ward, our treasurer, to do that first signature, arrange a time that he can meet and sign those checks, I will provide, again, the contact information for the second individual to email it in to the savings bank.
This is Commissioner Ward. I can be available anytime this week. Just have Uma get a hold of me.
Okay. Do you have that, Uma?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And thank you all very much. Just wanted to make sure that all is considered today. So moving forward on our agenda.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I did just confirm that it is recommended that Supervisor McGorty and Supervisor Mulhern will be the LAFCO representatives. That'll be confirmed at their meeting tomorrow. So again, those are additional options for signatures if staff want to consider reaching out, or the commission wants to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think we totally understand that. And yes, posted on the Board of Supervisors agenda for assignments to commissions and boards, both Supervisor-elect McGorty and Mulhern are the recommended appointments. So thank you. Moving on to item number 4, public hearing items. We have none. Going forward to item number 5 on our agenda, workshop items, we have none. So now we're moving forward to item 6, matters for discussion and possible action. And we will begin with 6A, the SOI policy update and work plan budget discussion. Ms. Hinman?
Thank you, Chair Brown. During the last regular meeting of the commission, staff provided an update on the policies and procedures committee's work on proposed sphere of influence policy changes. The commission and public comments resulted in direction given to staff to do additional outreach and to interested parties in the city bring back the policy for consideration at today's meeting. In December, staff hosted conference calls with each of the agencies interested. That included the cities, with the exception of Point Arena, we're not able to get connect with, as well as the Ukiah Valley Sanitation. The committee met again on and at that time received additional comments from participating city and staff, as well as a number of attorneys. Concerns expressed focused on requesting additional engagement with stakeholders and further refinement of the proposed policies to avoid unintended consequences. The committee recommendation is to postpone commission consideration of the policies to allow for further engagement with agencies and provide an update to the commission today. The intent of the policy changes are to put into written policy the current practices of the commission regarding sphere of influence updates, specifically requiring cost recovery from agencies requesting sphere expansions that would trigger CEQA analysis above exemption. The purpose and need for this practice has been LAFCO's limited budgets, resulting from the commission's efforts to keep the portion low for everyone. Without cost recovery, the commission will likely need to increase apportionment fees to carry out LAFCO's mandate to prepare MSR and sphere updates and associated CEQA review. Up until now, staff has been able to prepare MSR and sphere updates at lower staff rates and within budget by implementing the commission's direction for coterminous spheres. In order to implement this year's work plan, which includes our largest multi-service city and the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District, both with spheres adopted in the 80s, the budget assumed a 2-year process did not address CEQA. The 5-year rolling work plan accounts for approximately a quarter of our overall budget and is a schedule and estimated cost plan for conducting the updated MSR and sphere updates as close to the 5-year time frame as possible. The budget has never been sufficient to cover CEQA costs above an exemption, and that has been an assumption in the work plan itself every year. CEQA negative declaration can range from 5,000 to over 100,000, and that should be noted for the record. An aggressive schedule, given our budget limitations, will need to be modified this budget cycle. To stimulate some discussion and help guide our budget development process, staff has identified some options which are noted on page 20 of your agenda packet. Staff does initiate budget development in January and February of this year and is seeking some guidance from the some guidance and input from the commission to support that budget. That concludes my presentation.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ignacio.
Thank you, Ms. Hinman. I believe we have a commissioner that would like to come on. Please come on, state your name for the record.
Commissioner Ignacio, it was difficult to hear the EXO's display there, and I'm not sure if it's a reason, but if Commissioner Ward has a speakerphone on, his screen keeps lighting up and he seems to repeat what Uma is saying on my screen. Can we check that and maybe mute ourselves if we're not speaking?
Thank you. Commissioner Ward, do you want to check that out, please?
I went off Zoom, so I'm just on the phone now.
Okay. Thank you so much. Commissioners, do we have questions of Ms. Hinman? I thought it was an excellent report.
This is Commissioner Orth.
Yes, sir.
I also like the staff report. It was comprehensive and the range of options is pretty extensive. I have some questions, starting with, I thought the letters from both cities were illustrative as well. In particular, the city of Willits discussing an application process in which they're acting as the lead agency. And I think that is what LAFCO does in the SOI review process with the MSR is indeed, I believe, where LAFCO operates as the lead agency because we initiate that review. However, I think that applications are a different world, and it is the agency itself that's applying that appears to be acting as a lead agency. And I think that determination should be first up in our policies, the determination of lead agency and responsible agency efforts. And I think that will help the policy tremendously in describing real world situations that we'll face in the future and certainly quite soon. So that's my question. Should we look at the policy in such a way to make sure that that review occurs first, even before a CEQA checklist occurs? I think the determination of lead agency is an important point in the process. And that's my question.
Thank you. And I don't know if Ms. Hinman has comment, but, or perhaps any other commissioner. And we may also go to our council. So who would like to speak?
If Council Brown would like to chime in on that.
I'm sorry, I couldn't catch quite all of what he said. So if you could summarize, I would be in a better position to.
Yes, this is Commissioner Orth. The summary would be, is not the determination of who operates as a lead agency versus responsible agency an important determination to start any process of SOI review or application, because clearly they're different animals.
Yes, of course, that is absolutely correct. Whether, as has been noted before, the agency that acts first in time is generally considered the lead agency for the purposes of CEQA. And so in the case of LAFCO, most of the time when we're dealing with changes of organization, those come to us by way of a resolution of application from an agency, a public agency. And so that public agency issuing that resolution is acting first in time and therefore is the lead agency for CEQA purposes. However, when it comes to spheres of influence, that is a LAFCO action that is most usually initiated by the commission. If so, if the commission is initiating it, they are the first to act in time and therefore end up being the lead agency for those projects. Now, there can be situations, and I've certainly encountered them, where LAFCO cooperates with the city or other agency where they essentially both act as lead agency for a project and the agency helps support the cost, the CEQA cost of proceeding. But in the absence of some agreement or some application from an agency that is authorized under Cortese-Knox, with respect to spheres, LAFCO acts as the lead agency for the purposes of CEQA.
Mr. Orth, do you have further questions?
I just feel that the current policy doesn't illustrate that in an appropriate way, and I think that would help resolve some of the issues brought forward by the cities. in refining the policy measure.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, other commissioners that would like to speak?
I do have additional comment when other commissioners speak. After.
Oh, okay. Go forth, Commissioner Orth.
Well, representing special districts, of course, I do believe the costs of SOI reviews need to be in the MSR SOI review process. It is LAFCO acting as a lead because we initiate those reviews, and it's our responsibility as an agency to so conduct. I believe that special districts don't have the revenue resources that the cities and the county have, of course. We were sort of, and many special districts don't actually have the authority to expend budget dollars on planning. Brick trails is one of the exceptions. We went for special legislation, and now the state has changed the powers that can be adopted by districts, where planning is now a power that can be adopted if so utilized and needed by a district. But many of the agencies, the district agencies within Mendocino County, have not so adopted a planning power. So it's difficult to budget outside of the normal budget process for LAFCO. And I need to make that point for the special districts. Also, I think cost recovery is a critical component of an application process versus the administration by LAFCO of an SOI update through the MSR SOI process. So I think there should be a fairly distinct verbiage to illustrate that. I think that the budget process that we went through earlier this year, we cut the budget request, and I think we're now sowing the results of that. Staff did come forward with a fairly significant budget request, knowing the work program that was going to be before us. And on a split vote, the commission did modify that and reduce the budget. And I think the next item speaks to that, so I won't go further into that. But I do think the budget process has to be utilized to set the, of course, the fees to all three partners in LAFCO. And I want to make sure that the budget process accurately reflects the costs in such a way that we're not doing a mid-year budget process. Now, I know this year was an odd year. Here we are on Zoom, kind of illustrating how odd this year is. So I understand early on, it wasn't fully understood that work goes on. It doesn't stop because of the pandemic. And our staff needs the support to accomplish the work plan as appropriate. In this instance, I think that policy review processes need to be a line item in our budget because they're clearly creating some budget issues. And I want to make sure going forward that these kind of policy review processes to be complete, where we're consulting with the various agencies in a full and transparent way, is budgeted for, as well as our standard work program. That's my comments for the special districts in particular. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, Commissioner Orth. You've made some very, very good points. Any other commissioners that I would like, before we do any finalization or direction, I feel we need to have public expression first. So commissioners, any other comments, questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner McCowan, yes.
Thank you. And unfortunately, I don't think we're in a position to really finalize anything today, and I'll certainly agree with you and Commissioner Orth. Staff has provided an excellent report on this item. And the in-depth nature of that report underscores the concern that we're asking a lot of staff, and that this issue in particular, which on the surface appeared to be fairly simple and straightforward, let's just update the policies and procedures to reflect local LAFCO actual practice based on the direction that the commission has given. So, that's what staff did with their understanding of what the commission was asking for. And obviously, as we see, this has generated a lot of public comment and concern, particularly from the cities. And there's several key issues that have to be resolved, and it's a bit challenging. So on cost recovery, I think the commission has consistently, and I think probably unanimously, directed that agencies who would be in a position to benefit from an updated or certainly expanded sphere of influence would be expected to cover the cost of that review that would lead to an update or an expansion that would be of benefit to them. So that's been our position. We heard a lot of comment, certainly at the committee level, but I think the commission level as well, that no, LAFCO, you can't make that judgment. It's your state mandated duty to update the SOIs and the MSRs. So that's an issue that needs to be resolved. And one point Commissioner Orth raised, which all of the commissioners are mindful of, the special districts in many respects are somewhat held hostage to the MSR SOI update. Many of the districts really don't seek to expand their boundaries, or minor adjustments need to be made for some reason, but there's no big driving interest in expanding their districts. And as mentioned by Commissioner Worth, many of them don't have the budget to carry the cost of cities who may seek to expand, or larger special districts. So that's a real issue that will, of course, require legal advice, but I still advocate that the commission seek to find a way that the cost of SOIs that would benefit a particular agency be borne by that agency. So if there's a way to reconcile that with state LAFCO law, I think that's has been the wish of the commission to be able to do that. With lead agency, that also requires a little more digging, and a lot of good points have been made. And even though it's usually the commission that would be the lead agency for an SOI initiated by the commission, is there anything in law that says by agreement it couldn't be the agency? One other point that staff does raise in their background material, the update in 2008 was that MSRs and SOIs had to be reviewed, and thereafter every 5 years as necessary. As necessary being a very key phrase. So again, districts or even a city that, well, they provide municipal services, so they have to be reviewed every 5 years. But many districts that don't provide municipal services really don't need an in-depth review every 5 years, maybe not every 10 or 20, but only as necessary. So that's something else that needs to be clearly identified in the policies. Thank you.
And actually, that was a concern, thank you, Commissioner McCowan, that I was going to bring up. Since there is not a consensus among LAFCOs, and that comment was under work plan on page 19, made by staff. since some LAFCOs interpret legislation as requiring an SOI update every 5 years for every agency, and some interpret it to mean that once the first round of SOI update is completed, SOI updates after that can occur as needed. And so what my suggestion was going to be to the commission is that I recommend that we turn to our state organization to ask them to get the legal opinion as to the actual mandate required in that particular law. And I think it's important that the state do it, and that way it's not one LAFCO after another or one on one side in interpretation and another on the other side. But I just want to remind all of you, this is a state unfunded mandate. And maybe we need to seek legislation that if the state is requiring all of this, that LAFCOs be reimbursed. And then, they're really, I must add this in conclusion, that the difference between the two interpretations of different LAFCOs comes at quite a cost. So, I think we need to go to the state organization and get some clarification on it.
Madam
Any
Chair.
other comment, commissioners? And then I'll go to public expression.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Just one more thought along your comments. Another issue with the state, it's not only they throw these unfunded mandates on local agencies, but it's also the one size fits all. So when they're sitting in Sacramento writing LAFCO law, the majority of the legislators have no understanding of local conditions. So one thing that occurs to me, if you're in Los Angeles, San Diego, Sacramento, cemeteries tend to be going concerns. They're often operated by private entities. They're very well funded. They don't need special districts for cemeteries. Up here, with very few exceptions, they're not money-making enterprises, and it's a struggle to maintain them at the most basic level. And we rely on volunteers to step forward and act as commissioners for these cemetery districts that have very little funding. So again, that just underscores, I think, the reason that the commission has tried to find a way to not shift potentially significant costs related to the SOI process onto these small underfunded agencies. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that also applies to a number of water districts. I'd like to go to public comment now.
Before you do, excuse me, Madam Chair.
Oh.
I need to make just one more comment, a correction in the body, and actually when policies are written, the fire districts are listed as fire protection agencies, and I believe the word protection needs to be removed and fire EMS should replace wherever that occurs as an accurate descriptor of what fire agencies provide to the communities they serve. And fire protection is a misnomer, as fire districts provide far more medical services now than they actually do in fire response. So I do think that the descriptor needs to be corrected in a manner that accurately reflects that fire districts are providing fire/EMS services. So I think that would be an adequate change. And I hope Scott, our attorney, agrees with me.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you in the broader sense of what they actually do now. But under the Health and Safety Code, the districts themselves are still statutorily referred to as fire protection districts. So depending on how you're using it, whether you need to refer to the actual names of the districts, in which case they have to be fire protection districts, or whether you're generally referring to the service where you can more appropriately include EMS services.
Does that mean we could take care of this in the definition, our list of definitions, and when we describe the fire protection district, we can illustrate the level of services provided?
Yes, I'm sure it could be done. You can do anything you want in your policies.
So I certainly do recommend that moving forward then. Thank you. I'm finished.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Orth. And for the record, that was Council Scott Brown responding. All right, we're going to go to public expression. I'm going to let staff bring in the individuals that would like to speak to 6A.
Thank you. We'll ask Sage San Giacomo into the meeting room. Sage, you are in the meeting.
This is Sage. I'm sorry.
Please state your name and your position.
Hi. Good morning. Sage San Giacomo, City of Ukiah, City Manager. And I just want to echo, I think, a lot of what the discussion has been here this afternoon or this morning, and then also that staff's recommendation in the staff report and the policy committee's recommendation that what we're hearing is that certainly a lot more work needs to be done to develop these policies appropriately and avoid unintended consequences. And the commission this morning has noted a number of them, the policy committee and staff, and of course the cities, and actually at least one special district that weighed in at the policy committee level of really being diligent. And I want to just underscore that it really is about approach. And we're talking, I know the commission talked a lot about the unintended consequences and the costs related to special districts, but also wanted to put a plug in for cities. Our cities are small cities and we don't have unlimited funds, and identifying the appropriate approach to minimize costs and allow LAFCO to be productive in carrying out its duties of really trying to perfect good services and good governance in our county should be the major objectives of the policy. And that I do appreciate the recommendation and would encourage the commission to continue to allow the policy committee to work through these issues to bring back a good policy that avoids the unintended consequences and unnecessary costs for any of our governmental entities within the area, while at the same time perfecting the mission of LAFCO of good governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. San Giacomo. Do we have anyone else?
We have Craig Slaughter and Phil Williams. We'll bring Phil Williams into the meeting.
Thank you. And please state your name for the record along with the position you hold.
Mr. Williams, you're in the meeting.
Hi, it's Phil. I won't be making any comment.
Mr. Slaughter, is he wanting to speak to 6A?
Mr. Slaughter, you're in the meeting.
Good morning. This is Phil Williams. I have no comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig Slaughter, you are in the meeting. Did you wish to speak to this item? Craig, I think you're muted.
I have no comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. Craig Schlatter, you are in the meeting. Did you wish to speak to this item?
Hi, this is Craig Schlatter. I have no comment. Thank you.
Craig, I think you're muted.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. Now it is back to the commission. Commissioners?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner McCowan?
One more issue that has been raised by the cities, unintended consequences. So I have become very concerned that if LAFCO believes that in-depth environmental review is necessary for a sphere of influence update and potential expansion, this could drive very significant costs onto an SOI update where there is no immediate intention to actually conduct any sort of reorganization, annexation, expansion. So to the degree consistent with CEQA and LAFCO law, I do believe there was interest on the committee in devising policies that would protect against driving any significant costs onto an SOI update and reserve the in-depth environmental review for when there's actually an application for reorganization or expansion coming before the commission. And I wonder, if Scott Brown, I know he's had an opportunity to review that issue and think about it. It certainly makes sense to me that by redrawing the lines of an SOI, we're not changing the environment. In many cases, we're not changing in any way the development that occurred because there's no change to the zoning. So is that a viable direction to try to, by policy or whatever other legal means, provide assurance to agencies that might be interested in considering an expansion of their SOI to assure them that they and LAFCO aren't going to get caught up in expansive environmental review and reserve that level of review for when an actual reorganization is being proposed?
Well, I think that's a good question, but to a large extent, it's already been answered by the courts. One of the key cases dealing with LAFCOs is called Bozung versus Local Agency Commission, and it's a California Supreme Court case. And in that case, the exact argument you've made was raised that, hey, we're just redrawing lines on a piece of paper. It has no direct physical impact on the environment. So why should LAFCO decisions be subject to CEQA? Because we're just, again, deciding where a boundary line will be redrawn. And the California Supreme Court said in that case that the changing boundary lines has real impacts in the real world, albeit indirectly. When you increase the sphere of an agency to add a new piece of property, you're saying that that property is now eligible to receive municipal services, where the piece that is next to it that's not allowed into the sphere is not considered eligible for municipal services. And CEQA also talks about the fact that CEQA must be conducted at the earliest possible time when irrevocable steps are being taken that will lead to physical impacts on the environment. And it also says that just because an impact is indirect, that is, you're not doing an immediate project, but you're doing planning that will ultimately result in a project that will have impacts. You have to consider, to the extent appropriate, those impacts at the time you do the planning. So CEQA is pretty clear that you have to analyze the impacts of a proposed sphere as to what extent is it going to encourage later development, and review the impacts at a high level because it's a programmatic situation to determine whether whether environmental review is necessary of those indirect effects. And of course, the likelihood of having to do more in-depth review directly relates to how much undeveloped property is proposed to be added to the sphere, which could be developed. Now, if you're adding thousands of acres that are just going to be one parcel, one residence for every 50 acres, you're probably not looking at huge impacts. But most of the time, spheres include land that the city proposes for urban development, in which case the addition to the sphere has the indirect effect of facilitating later urban development of that property. And to the extent appropriate, and it depends in each case on, you have to do a case-by-case analysis, you have to determine whether those indirect effects are of sufficient magnitude as to require an appropriate level of environmental review.
Thank you.
Well, and I would say that in many cases, we're not talking about making a property suddenly eligible for municipal services. We're changing the agency that might provide those services. So contiguous areas that are already being served by sewer and water, for instance, are already capable of development. But again, I'm not sure that the Supreme Court, any more than the legislature in Sacramento, really takes into account conditions in rural California when they're making their rulings. But thank you.
Okay, moving forward, anyone else?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Ward.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to say all the points that you and Commissioner McCowan and Orth presented before public input, I agree wholeheartedly. I am concerned about this item. I know it's going to take probably the Policies and Procedure Committee several more meetings to get this all completed. We will be losing one commissioner on the Policy and Procedure, and I'm assuming that I will continue on that Policy and Procedure Committee, but I do believe we need to do this correctly. I am concerned about some of the attorneys' letters that I've read that we may be in violations in several different areas, and I really would like to get our counsel to provide that information to me, whether we are in violation or not. So, because I'm concerned about providing a recommendation to the full commission on something that we may be sued on in the future. So I would like to get some response from our county council in the future before we make a full recommendation to the commission on why we would be in violation of some of our policies or the CKH. Saying all that, it's a little confusing after being on the commission all these years. All of a sudden, we have a big issue with an SOI issue. We've developed many SOIs in the past and never ran into a situation like this. So at some point, I need to know what the City of Ukiah SOI is currently and what they're proposing so we can know the difference. And then I want to know if we do nothing with changing their SOI, what that would mean to us. We don't have to, I guess, agree to it, but that's something that I'd like to know as well. Those are just my comments, but I do agree with the commissioners that spoke that I agree with all that. And this is a big item, and I think we need to do it correctly. And if it takes several months, it takes several months. Thank you.
Thank you. And you did ask a question. I'm not sure if you would invite City Manager San Giacomo to come forward and maybe respond. That's fine. Okay. Can we please have Mr. San Giacomo back into the meeting?
Sage is in the meeting. You have been muted, Sage, so if you could unmute yourself. And also Chair Brown, Phil Williams would like to speak again when you are ready.
Thank you. But we'll go to Mr. San Giacomo first.
Hi, this is City Manager San Giacomo. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the exact question, but do agree that more vetting of this, as I indicated previously, it's really about approach. And what Mr. Brown had indicated, represents a very conservative approach to CEQA that would likely lead to a number of unintended consequences. And we do believe that there are approaches that LAFCO can take that would allow LAFCO to be able to move forward with its primary responsibility of ensuring good governance and services to our communities where those services are needed, yet avoid multi-year CEQA process that would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just to remind the Commission, the cities and the counties still have land use authority. LAFCO doesn't have land use authority, so the time and point in which decisions are irrecoverably made or decided regarding land use is certainly a distinction that needs to be made between what LAFCO's responsibilities are and the responsibilities of those cities and counties that are within the jurisdiction. And so I'd only add again that it's all about approach, and do think that there are some good discussions that could be had here that would get to that would resolve the Commission's concerns with regards to cost and ability to be able to move forward with your primary goals and satisfy the concerns of cities, districts, and others within your jurisdiction.
Thank you, Mr. San Giacomo. Mr. Williams?
Mr. Williams, are you still on the call? Participant with the last four numbers 4297. You are in the meeting. Did you wish to speak to this item?
Morning, Uma. It's Phil Williams. I think 4297 is me, and I was hoping to add a responsive comment on the CEQA issues discussed in 6A.
Yes, I believe Chair Brown called on you.
Am I in the meeting now?
Yes, you are in the meeting, Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Good morning, all. I apologize. My name is Phil Williams, representing the City of Ukiah. I just wanted to provide a brief responsive comment to the question that Mr. McCowan posed and to which Mr. Brown responded. And I just want to highlight the memorandum that the City of Ukiah provided through its CEQA attorney, Ms. Matarazzo, which I think does a very good job of explaining these steps, A, that both that need to be taken, and B, that are provided under CEQA law regarding both the exemptions that are provided and whether or not, and understanding whether or not any activity taken by LAFCO triggers CEQA or a full environmental review, and at which point that full environmental review may be triggered. So I would encourage the Commission to take a good look at that memo, because I think it would help explain how you walk that line, especially hearing the commission's concerns about the costs that may be associated with a higher level of environmental review. Thank you.
And Chair Brown, this is Sage San Giacomo again. May I just make one final comment?
Go ahead, Sage, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I want to recognize that there's a lot of work to be done here, but, you know, some of the main issues regarding costs have been alleviated by just good partnership and, you know, staff and the commission working together with, for example, the city of Ukiah, where we've been able to come together to be able to move forward with the goals of the commission and the goals of the city in a productive way that avoids those costs to other agencies within the commission. And while we continue to work through the policy, I just want to point out that you have a good partner with the city of Ukiah related to those unintended consequences related to costs. And we continue to, you know, we look forward to finalizing the MOU that the commission directed be done for the upcoming SOI and MSR. And that, you know, a good portion of the pressure on the commission is relieved from this partnership and this work that we've already done in moving forward with the City of Ukiah's MSR and SOI. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I want to go back to the commission. We do have a work plan budget options, and we have 10 items. So commissioners. Comment. I don't know if you're muted or not.
Chair Brown, this is Executive Officer Hinman.
Yes.
These options were put forward as a place of kind of initiation to discussion of how we move forward with the work plan, the mandates from the CKH Fleet Sphere updates, and also to solicit some input into the budget development process that will begin later this month.
Right.
We welcome and hope for feedback from the commission today. If the commission needs more time to think this through, this is just a way for us to start this discussion with the commission. We will begin the budget development process in earnest with the executive committee once it is identified and at the February meeting. So staff will continue to work with these options and identify others for further vetting and discussion with the executive committee and can bring back more thoughts on this process and options as we get into the preliminary budget. Again, we welcome the feedback and we are hoping to get some guidance from the commission. And we will continue to do so with the new executive committee starting in February.
And I do think any guidance it should be given today, so you can start looking at the budget options. So, commissioners, I'm turning to you. I will not be here.
This
so
is Commissioner.
I'm being quiet.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Ward.
Commissioner Orth. And I believe option 10, which was to establish a work plan reserve account to save for consultant prepared MSR SOI, update studies and secret review when necessary, is going to be an important component of our budgets moving forward. So I would certainly give support to establishing such a reserve account, and which would potentially rebuild our reserves to adequately prepare us for, I think historically the commission felt that the MSR completion process was critical to LAFCO of Mendocino moving forward with the state mandates. And now I think that with the realization that the SOI issues would come within the second and third rounds, as we move forward in time. I think we're now at that point, and so I think it would be responsible to follow through with recommendation number 10 to allow LAFCO to develop the reserve account so that we do have some monies available mid-budget, like we're at now, where unanticipated SOI costs crop up in our review processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Orth. Any other commissioners?
Well, this Commissioner Ward, Madam Chair, based on number 10, we'd probably want to look at number 1 as well, continuing the development of cost recovery, because that is a concern for me as a commissioner with our budget. Obviously, I like all of them, but I don't know if you're looking for just a few to have staff pursue, or do you want to pursue all of them?
And that's why I'm asking all of you. Ms. Hinman, do you have comment?
We welcome any of the general direction from the commission as far as which way they would like to go. We can certainly continue to look at these. And again, it's not to be limited to this list. This was a list to keep, to start and to the comments, the feedback from the commission coming. So it was just to get us started. So we welcome anything the commission can provide us, and we'll continue to develop and work through these.
Thank you. And I'm actually looking for some type of a motion with comment to the action, how to move forward and come to a conclusion for 6A.
Chair Brown, Commissioner Ignacio.
Yes, sir.
I'll make the motion that we hold all 10 options, but focus on option 1 and option 10 as part of the discussion for staff to move forward. And I believe in this motion, it'll include the previous comments of contacting CALAFCO for some clarification on our difficulties here as well.
Okay, Commissioner Ignacio, that was a motion.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Chair Brown, this is Gonzalez.
Discussion.
Well,
hang on, Commissioner McCowan. Commissioner Gonzalez?
I was going to second his motion.
Thank you, sir. So we have a motion and we have a second. Commissioner McCowan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So to a degree, item 10 would seem to prejudge the outcome of the discussions that are ongoing regarding what our policies and procedures should be, but it could also be viewed as a prudent measure to prepare for what may be the outcome of those discussions. So I don't have any objection to the motion.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ward.
Yes, sir.
Based on our discussions at the policy and procedure meeting with the cities, I would like to see number 4 and number 5 be continued. We will need that information to move forward with the committee. That was our discussion with them, that we would continue with contact with them. And I think that's important that we continue those discussions because we need to move this along, but I do think it's going to take a few months. Other than that, I agree with the motion.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other comment?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner McCowan?
I would agree with including 4 and 5 if that's acceptable to the maker of the motion, and then we might also invite staff comment.
Thank you, Commissioner McCowan. Staff, you have comment.
We appreciate the feedback from the commission. I would like to note that this does feed into item 6B with the budget amendment. The work that we have done on the sphere policies and before that the inactive applications policy has taken a significant amount of staff time as well, and that includes our legal counsel as well. We can get that discussion more in the next item, but I did want to point that out for the record. And staff is looking forward to working through these policies and to continuing outreach with the cities. We absolutely want to see the best policy come forward for the commission's consideration. So the caution about the budget is in no way to dissuade that. It is informational to the commission. We have expended about 70% of our basic services budget to date, and we are at the mid-year point.
Yes, I agree that 6A and B are kind of tangled up with one another. But commissioners, comment?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Orth. And
yes, sir.
I don't believe the motion cuts out any of the numbered potential discussion items moving forward by the committee in pursuing a policy. So I don't think it took off the table any of the items 1 through 10. It just highlighted 2 of them, but I don't think it eliminates any of those suggestions.
Thank you, Tony. That's correct.
I agree. Okay. Any other comment? If not, I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Hearing no other comment, please conduct the roll call vote.
Okay. Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Bazzani?
Yes.
Commissioner Ignacio?
Yes.
Commissioner McCowan?
Yes.
Commissioner Orth?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Chair Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. I think 6B is going to be a lengthy discussion, and at the discretion of the chair, we're going to take a short break. It's 10:11. We will take a 10-minute break. agenda, and we are going to item 6B. And for a correction, at the top of the staff report, it indicates it's item 2B rather than 6B. So that's for the listening public and those that are watching. So we'll go forward and we will go to staff first.
Chair, Madam Chair, I believe that I had incorrectly linked the staff report to the item on the agenda. The staff report starts on page 58 of your packet.
Okay, now I got it.
Thank you.
I did go over it.
Sorry about that.
I just looked at the top and I'm going, this isn't 6B or 2B. Okay, got it.
Thank you. Staff has prepared this report to provide an overview of expenses and revenue midway through the year and also projected through the end of the fiscal year. The report and discussion will help us in developing next year's budget and also includes a request for a budget amendment to increase staff budget through the end of this fiscal year. The fiscal year 2021 adopted budget is $161,650 and is summarized on page 62 of the packet. I will note that there is a mistake on item 1 on page 58 of your packet. It should say the Commission adopted a fiscal year 2021 budget of $161,650. Revenues in the budget include $150,000 in apportionment fees and the Commission authorization to utilize reserve funds to fill the budget gap of approximately $11,000. Expenses at mid-year total $79,700 and are primarily staffing and office operations. Approximately 90% of the work plan budget still remains. However, the bulk of the tasks in the work plan will be completed within the second half of the fiscal year. For policy, operational reserves should be 25% of the operating budget. We are currently at about 30% of operations, and under the current budget, will be only slightly above the 25% policy limit by the end of this fiscal year. That is without the budget amendment. Staff has spent a significant amount of time in processing applications, which are cost recovery, managing work plan implementation and policy development, and implementing the special district election to fill vacancies and the new terms. A more detailed list of tasks are on page 60 of your agenda packet. Also on page 60 of the packet is a list of anticipated tasks for the remainder of the fiscal year. The most time-consuming tasks will likely be work plan implementation, continuing on policy development, specifically for the sphere of influence policy changes, and budget and work development. To date, we have expended 70% of the basic services budget with significant efforts towards policy development, outreach, work plan, request for proposal process, and typical staffing needs for office operations and response to public needs. The budget amendment proposes an additional $20,000 for basic services to see us through the end of the fiscal year. There's also been substantial use of legal counsel for the first half of this year, particularly for policy development and meetings, as well as applications, which again are at cost recovery. The legal services budget contract is for $900 a month, which covers an average of 4 hours per month of legal counsel general services. We have exceeded that level of general legal services routinely this year, and it is anticipated that we'll continue with the continuation of the sphere policy development. The budget amendment also requests about a $4,500 increase in legal counsel budget to cover an additional 20 hours of time above the contracted amount. That shouldn't be considered an upper limit on it. However, that is the budget amendment request at this time based on what we think will be needed. The amendment would increase use of reserves to approximately $33,700, which would reduce the reserves to our policy of 25% of operating costs. That is the end of my presentation, and I'm happy.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize. My papers all got sorted in together, and I finally found it for item 6B. So commissioners, questions, comments?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ward.
I was going to call on you. Please go forward.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that, it's unfortunate that we went over, and how we're going to deal with it is going to be the main question. But I guess, first of all, the increase in the legal fees of $4,500, I presume staff is suggesting that that's going to take us to the end of the year. However, based on discussions we've had within the policy and procedure meetings, committee meetings, we're going to be relying on council quite a bit. So I'm hopeful that the 20 additional hours will be sufficient. The other thing is we're taking that 4,500 and possibly more down the road out of operational reserves. Should they become out of legal reserves, since it's a legal issue, and maintain our operational reserves as high as possible. Within the staff report, it says that our operational reserves are $55,469, of which we have to, our policy dictates that we keep $40,413 based on the operation. But our operational reserve, operational costs are going to 181, which means that our operational reserves will need to be at a minimum of 47,323, which doesn't leave a lot left over to pay pay the additional costs that staff is recommending. So we're either going to be exceeding our policy of 25%, and that concerns me. But I also would like to know if there's any within our previous discussion, if there's any pursuing of multiple portion fee scenarios that we can look forward to, and then modifying our rolling work plans. Maybe our work plans just get pushed off for the other items, and we concentrate on what's before us. Those are some of my comments, but I'd like to hear more from the other commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward. Commissioners?
This is Gonzalez.
Madam Chair, John I'll defer.
Hang on, Commissioner McCowan. Commissioner Gonzalez?
Mine will be brief. I basically want to echo what Commissioner Ward said. But how much do we have in legal?
We have 35,000.
I would agree with you that we should take it out of legal reserve. Maybe even kick up the hours, because I think that we may have some more questions. 30. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir, and I certainly agree as well. Commissioner McCowan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the same concerns as my colleagues. We're venturing into a territory with the policy update that seemed simple and straightforward, where we're going to have to, the commission is going to have to decide among competing legal experts who is providing the best advice. And of course, it'll require probably significant participation by our council. So it's foreseeable that more hours could be needed there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
This is Commissioner Orth. I also agree with utilizing the legal reserves for the legal costs overruns that we're now faced with from the approved budget. I think that's why reserves exist in the first place. I'm a proponent of having adequate reserves for meeting the requirements of the functions of LAFCO moving forward in each budget year. I certainly think drawing down reserves just means our future budget will have to look to ensure that we're replacing reserves as utilized in a prior year. And I think that would be resolved through the next budget process. And so I agree with everything said here. I do think we need to find out whether the Sand District wishes to move forward in this year because that impacts the work plan. And if they wish to hold off another year, that can make up to 20,000 of the budget work plan available to transfer over to where we have other needs. Thank you.
Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Ignacio.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to support and thank Commissioner Orth for everything he said since the opening of the meeting. And I do agree with the colleagues on the commission that utilization of the reserve will most likely have to happen. And I do encourage coming around this next budget cycle that we make some future-proofing attempts at rebuilding the reserves and putting ourselves in a position to where we can functionally respond to the public when things like this come up. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you, sir. And I just want to ask the question for the SOI policy. Should it be in the Policy and Procedures Committee or should it be before the full commission? I think that is a big difference, perhaps for all the commissioners be a part of that discussion. So I'll just place that out there.
This is Commissioner Ignacio. For one, I would like to see it stay with the Policy Committee. Staff has been given direction on how to proceed in the last agenda item, and ultimately it'll come back to the commission for the review that they're making, and I believe the entire commission will be involved. Thank you.
And I agree with that, except all commissioners may come out to be in the same debate that is within the Policy and Procedures Committee. And that's why I was suggesting it be before the full commission. Very possible it will cut down on not only LAFCO's legal fees to have it in one big meeting, but also that of the cities that have commented back. So that was why I made the recommendation.
Commissioner Ward, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I agree with your comment. A couple of reasons. One, we all have new commissioners. We're not sure what the Policy and Procedure Committee is going to look like. I may not even be on it. But at the same time, the Policy and Procedure Committee can meet more often than the monthly LAFCO meetings. And I think there's going to be a lot of meetings between the committee and the and staff with regard to the updates from the various cities and maybe even some of the districts. So that was my only concern is that we push this along a little quicker with the committee than we would with the full commission. But I agree that with quite a few new commissioners coming on board, that we need to keep everybody in the loop. So I can go either way. I would agree with Commissioner Ignacio. Maybe we keep it at commission level, or committee level at this point. Excuse me, committee level at this point, and then keep the commission updated as we go. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Orth.
Yes, sir.
I would also like to see the committee move forward. I would just add that in our agendas for our monthly meetings under Commissioner Reports, in committee reports that the line describing committee reports gives enough clarity that we will receive a fairly extensive report from the policy committee moving forward in time over the next few months. And I think that's the time the full commission would have the ability to ask questions to keep everything on track.
Good point. There was another commissioner, was it Commissioner McCowan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think all the points made are well taken. And given that there will be new commissioners, perhaps the next agenda could include an informational update by staff. And of course, the background that they prepared for this meeting would probably be a good background material for that. But staff could, I think, maybe hit the highlights of where we are and how we've gotten here. And continuing commissioners could add their insight to it. And I think that would help familiarize the new commissioners with the issues and then proceed as my colleagues have indicated to make sure everyone is kept updated going forward. That way, when recommendations, hopefully very well thought out and comprehensive, come back to the commission, everyone will be familiar with what is being recommended and why. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else before going to public comment? Hearing no other commissioners, staff, do we have individuals that would like to provide public comment?
I believe Sage San Giacomo wished to speak to this item, and he is in the meeting.
Hi, this is Sage. Uma, can you hear me? Am I unmuted? I'm sorry.
Yes, you are. We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Again, thank the commission. And just noting back to my previous comment, you know, a lot of the pressure with regards to the costs associated with the SOI development, specifically with the city of Ukiah, has been resolved just through good partnership and good communication. I actually think in talking with the other cities, cost apportionment related to work that goes beyond is not going to be the major hangup in the policy discussions. That you know, the primary concern is just wanting again to avoid unintended consequences that drive costs for both LAFCO and the cities and districts up considerably. And getting through some of those other policy items will probably limit that. And I don't believe cost apportionment is going to be a major hangup with regards to at least the positions that the cities have. In fact, I think that that type of policy may be driven quite easily, but certainly can be impacted if there's if LAFCO takes a certain, if LAFCO policy turns a certain direction that drives cost and time, specifically with regards to CEQA to unattainable areas. But I'm confident that that work can proceed swiftly at the policy level. I know that the city of Ukiah, Willis, and Fort Bragg have been engaging and will continue to engage and work collaboratively with staff and the policy committee and LAFCO council to get to a good policy. But there's really nothing that I've heard today or previously that I see where there's huge divisions of divide that won't allow us to get to a policy that works for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in public expression?
We also have Craig Schlatter and Phil Williams in the room, if either wish to speak to this item.
Not hearing them come forth. I believe I'll bring the matter back to the commission.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Ward. So back to item 6B again, staff is recommending that we have a budget amendment of $22,541. Well, we've discussed where we could take part of that and take it out of the legal reserves, but it leaves us with the difference that our operation reserves don't have enough to cover it to maintain a 25% requirement. So I would make a recommendation that we look at 3 of the work plan, Cuyahoga Valley Fire District, County Service Area 3, and Covelo Service CFD, whether we can postpone those into the next fiscal year to maintain that money towards our $22,543. I'd like to know how staff feels about that.
Thank you. And that for the commissioners and the listening public, that's on mid-page on page 59. Staff, can you respond, please?
Sure, we can certainly look at delaying some of the other agencies in the work plan. We do potentially have an application from the Cuyahoga Valley Fire District for annexation of the city of Ukiah, so that may necessitate us moving forward with that sphere update. We can look at the other 2. One of the things that Commissioner Ignacio had suggested was to do the withdrawal from the operational reserves and budget in to the next fiscal year, building up the reserves to our policy of 25%. Again, we can look at both. We would have to still do a budget amendment to move the line funds from the work plan account into the basic services account to accommodate that change.
Okay, Commissioner Ward?
Well, my question was which one of the 3 would she like to postpone? Obviously, the fire district, there's an application already in play, but what about, there's currently about $6,000 left in the work plan for Covelo and about $7,000 in County Service Area 3. Either one of those would, I think, allow us to meet the 22,000 recommendations. So that was my only question.
For CSA 3, I understand there is some potential need for the CSA 3 to be, or at least considered, or some of their powers utilized in the coming months. I would need to reach out to the county CEO to discuss that further with her to see what the need is. I'm not aware of any development pressures or annexation pressures for the Covelo Community Services District, although we have begun that process. That report is in its initial phases, so we could delay that one.
Okay, assuming that one can't be delayed and the other ones can't, do you have a recommendation where the money could come from to meet the $22,543?
On page 63 of your staff report on attachment 2, we did identify some small savings in some of the other accounts that we don't anticipate meeting through the end of the fiscal year. That would drop the need for reserves down to 22,500. Oh, that's the increase of savings to 33,743. If we take out the 4,500 for legal, take that from the legal reserves, then it would drop ours. I don't have a calculator on hand, but it would need to come out of the operational reserve. That's where the difference would come from.
Yeah, but that's going to drop our operational reserves below the 25%.
Correct.
So is there any ramifications of that?
We would need to build it up again through our budget cycle to meet that 25%.
So you're recommending that we have less than 25% to the remainder of this fiscal year, mid-budget year?
That is staff's recommendation at this time, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a comment.
Yes, North?
Yes, the Sand District was going back to their board for a discussion on potentially delaying their review process for another year while the districts in the Ukiah Valley region consider consolidation. So I think that could be the potential savings. I believe that's a $20,000 budgeted work plan amount. And I think that would be adequate to resolve some of these issues. Am I correct?
This is Executive Officer Hinman. The budget for this fiscal year for the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District MSR sphere update was $12,500. It was anticipated to be a 2-year process due to the budget limitations. They did initiate the discussion with their board in the December meeting, and they are continuing that discussion with their January, I believe it's January 13th meeting.
Thank you. So there is some potential savings that can be transferred over in the work plan, depending upon their resolve later this month.
I believe that was a question, staff?
Yes, that's correct. If we delay the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District MSR sphere update, that would be a budget savings of $12,500 for this fiscal year.
Okay, commissioners? We should receive at least a motion to get it on the floor because to do the budget amendment, we do need to pass a resolution. So I'm looking at the commissioners for a motion.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ignacio, just for clarification, there is an attached draft resolution. That wouldn't necessarily be the resolution based on this discussion.
Correct, and that's why we need to have at least a recommendation so we can make those changes.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Ward.
Yes, sir.
Well, since we don't know what direction the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District is going, I would prefer that we delay the Covelo service CSD, and that would give us pretty close to our 25%, and we go that direction. That's something we do control, and push that off until next year. We have expended some money on that, but that's been pushed along for quite some time anyway. So without knowing where the sand district is going, I prefer that direction.
Thank you.
And if we need a motion, I would second Commissioner Ward's motion.
Okay.
Can someone repeat the motion, please?
I was just going to ask that, but I also, I have to go back on my computer to look at the resolution and what language and numbers will need to be changed, but perhaps staff might have that for us.
Give me just one moment, I can put it together.
Okay.
So if you look on page 64 of your agenda packet at the draft resolution, the fifth whereas, Whereas the commission considered a proposed fiscal year 2020-21 budget amendment increasing the basic services account 5,300 by 20,000 and the legal services account 6,300 by $4,500 and for total budget of 184,193, delaying the Covelo CSD MSR sphere update and authorizing the shifting those funds to the 5,300 account and authorizing the remaining increase be withdrawn from the Commission's operational reserve fund balance.
I think though, just for discussion, I think we need to include that the legal services, or maybe that's what you said, was 63, come out of the legal reserves, right?
Yes, we would. Thank you for that correction.
Commissioner Ward, is that your motion?
I believe that's my motion. That was a recommendation. I didn't know it was a motion, but I would agree with that motion.
Okay,
so
well,
the motion is to adopt resolution number 2020-21-03 with the amendments listed by the XO. And is there still a second? Sorry, Chair, bad habit.
That's what I'm trying to get
to. Chair Brown, this is Commissioner Gonzalez. Since I kind of put the motion in Commissioner Ward's mouth, I will second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Ignacio, for the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Ignacio and a second by Commissioner Gonzalez. And I'm going to ask the clerk, is that correct?
Yes, just for clarification, I wasn't sure if the motion came from Commissioner Ward or Commissioner Ignacio. But
well, actually, Commissioner Ward didn't make a motion.
Okay.
But Commissioner Gonzalez seconded his statement. So, here we go.
Okay.
It was a first by Commissioner Ignacio and a second by Commissioner Gonzalez.
Perfect.
Correct.
Okay, I got that. Thank you. And we're ready for a roll call?
I believe we are.
Okay. Commissioner McCowan.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Bazzani.
Yes.
Commissioner Orth.
Yes.
Commissioner Ignacio.
Like I'm going to say no. Yeah.
Chair Brown.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, clerk. Okay, moving along on our agenda, we come to item number 7, information and report items. I'd like to begin with 7A. Ms. Hinman.
Madam Chair. This is a review of the status of applications, proposals, and work plan. We are still working on, and looks like there are currently 4 active proposals. Apologies for that error there. So working on 2 applications from the city of Ukiah. One of them is an application for detachment of Ukiah Valley Sanitation District areas. The other is a pre-application for annexations north of the city of Ukiah. We're also working on a pre-application for the Ukiah Valley Fire District, pre-application for annexation of the city of Ukiah, and for the Millview County Water District, a pre-application for annexation of the Masonite area properties. We do anticipate a potential project from the city of Ukiah, annexation of city-owned property south of the city. And we continue to make progress on the work plan. We are currently preparing an draft MOU for consideration by the city to enter into an agreement for preparation of the SR and sphere update. This discussed CSA 3 and Covelo Community Services District, which we we will be delaying, and we will be doing outreach with the county regarding CA. That's all I have, unless there are questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have questions? Hearing none, I just want to go back for a moment, details, to 6B. I will need that resolution emailed to me so I can sign it and get it back to LAFCO. So, moving forward to 7B, correspondence. Ms. Hinman, do we have correspondence?
Oh, we do not. We do still have 3 members of staff of the City of Ukiah. I don't know if they wish to 7A.
Okay.
Or we can move forward. For 7B, we have no correspondence to report.
Okay. So you suggest that we go back to 7A and ask if there's public comment?
Yes. That was my...
I did receive the one email on 7E. I believe that was the one that Mr. Williams wanted to speak to, but certainly under 7A, we invite public comment.
And there was a later correction from Mr. Williams regarding 7E. He had meant to speak to 7A or 6A. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
To confuse things further.
I just want those representing the City of Ukiah to know, please chime in if you do have a comment. All right. Moving forward, 7C.
Thank you. A number of things to report today on the Executive Officer's report. The special district election ballots are due on January 25th. I did send out a reminder on December 29th that we are still short a quorum. We are still short one ballot for the remainder term and 4 ballots for the full term, which is currently held by Commissioner Orth. We do have a running tally posted on our website and do point special districts to that for information. At the February 1st meeting, we will be swearing in new commissioners. We'll also do the officer selection and committee appointments at the very beginning of the meeting. We have prepared letters to the banks for the new signatories, which we discussed earlier under item 3. We have staff did participate in a City of Ukiah General Plan Update Community Workshop on December 8th, which was held virtually and focused on general overview of existing conditions and trends analysis, which was released in March 2020, and also included a discussion of land use alternatives. For the pandemic health orders, non-essential offices, including ours, still remains closed to the public, although we do go in regularly to collect the mail and respond to information needs. Staff is continuing to work on preparing the year-end financial reports. I promise, Commissioner Ward, we have been delayed due to the workload on other items, particularly the policy work. And that's all I have at this time.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask, have any of the special districts that have not sent in ballots, have they communicated at all with the office?
No, and we do send out a couple of weeks, we have been sending out reminders to folks. Since the extension, the 60-day extension, we've only received 1 additional ballot.
Okay, I have done some outreach to the special districts to see if they have voted, and most of the ones I did outreach to have voted. There were others that had not as yet, so I will once again do outreach. Part of the problem is some only meet quarterly. So anyway, I hope others on the commission will do the same to make sure the votes, the ballots get set in. So this is not a continued item. Any other commissioner? Is there public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to 7D, committee reports. Executive committee has not had a meeting. Policies and procedures has. And is there any comment from that committee?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Ward. I think we covered most of it in the agenda packet today and in the discussions. I look forward to continue our committee meetings as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward. Anyone else? Commissioner McCowan?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, commissioners' reports. We're on 7E. Anyone have a report?
This is Commissioner Orth, and I would just like to report thus far in our water season that here in Brook Trails, last year, starting in September, we're a little over 14 inches. And a good storm happening now for this beginning of this year.
Yes, I was doing all the blessings in the world when I heard the rain start coming down last night. Anyone else? Not hearing anyone speak up, we're on to item 7F, CALAFCO Business and Legislative Report. Ms. Hinman?
Thank you. Can report that the 2020 updated Cortez-Knox-Hertzberg Act is now available. Was mailed to each of the commissioners. It's also posted on our website under the Policies and Procedures tab. Also, the Northern Regions Roundtable meeting was held on December 9th. And I believe Commissioner Gonzalez was able to attend.
I will, I did attend. I actually thought I was just going to, as I emailed Ms. Goodman, that I was going to just kind of listen, but I was the only one there, but it was sparsely attended. And in fact, they were going to do kind of a roundtable thing with the different LAFCOs. In the end, they just kind of did it in the big room, so to speak, and ended up just kind of everybody just sharing what was going on in their LAFCOs. And we talked about budgets, et cetera, and just kind of gave a recap. And from there, and everybody, I think COVID kind of took over the conversation. So that's all I have to report. Oh, I did want to say that given that COVID is in place, they said that they were going to do a lot more training online, and that would be the focus. Yeah, that's it.
Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Ward. What day would you like for me to come down and sign checks?
I guess I would probably be with me. This is Clerk Meadows. I would say either this afternoon or tomorrow would be preferable. Tomorrow morning.
I can be down tomorrow about 11.
Okay, perfect. I'll meet you at the office.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward, for asking that question. I want to ask staff, does CalLAFCO on their website, I know with their annual meeting for new commissioners, they do have a session. Do you know if that's available by webinar for the new commissioners coming on?
Our legal counsel, Scott Brown, and I have been talking about putting on a LAFCO 101 either at the February meeting or at the March meeting for the new commissioners. There is a PowerPoint that is available through CALAFCO that we can utilize to assist us with that training. The City Select Committee has not yet set a meeting date for their selection of commissioners yet. So we'd like to wait until that happens before we firm up the schedule for the 101 course.
Chair Brown, before we move on, can I make a comment?
Sorry about that. I put myself on mute. Didn't take a go forward, Commissioner Orth.
I would like to roundly thank both yourself and Supervisor Commissioner McCowan for your many years of service to this commission and to the County of Mendocino. And I think this is my only chance to say that out loud. And I just very much appreciate having worked with both of you through the decades, literally, and all the work that you've accomplished for the County of Mendocino. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. It's kind of a bittersweet time, because at noontime today, I plan to go, well, I shouldn't say that in public, but for Supervisor John McCowan and myself, noontime officially is the end of our term. So thank you.
And Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Orth, and congratulations to Supervisor Brown on completion of your term. I think everyone who volunteers to serve in these positions, whether it's on the LAFCO Commission or any city council, any of the many other boards and commissions we serve on, I think the underlying motivation is always the same. We want to be of service to our communities. We think we have something to contribute, and many people don't realize the amount of effort and that goes into it, the seriousness with which we take it. People may think, well, gee, the Board of Supervisors or the City Council, they have a couple of meetings a month, or LAFCO, they might meet once a month. They're not necessarily aware of everything that goes on behind the scenes to prepare for those meetings, and certainly not aware of all the work that staff makes. And I'll get off my soapbox in a second here, but before I do, I really do want to acknowledge staff. We have great staff here at LAFCO. We actually put a lot on them, and maybe as commissioners, we're not always aware of the demands that we're putting on staff. But LAFCO has been well served and will be well served into the future with our staff. And so I really want to thank and acknowledge them. And I think the commission will be in good hands going forward. It's been an honor to serve, and at the same time, I'm looking forward to noon today when I will be free at last. Thank you all very much.
I will second your comments, and I just want all the commissioners to know, as well as staff, my feeling is it's been absolutely wonderful in working with all of you, and those that I didn't know before you came on to LAFCO, I now know and have really appreciated your service and appreciated working with all of you. So I guess it is time to adjourn. And what time is it?
11:10.
All righty. So LAFCO is adjourned until our next meeting, and that will be on Monday, February 1st, 2021 at 9 a.m. So thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.